As a financial advisor for the past 20 years, one of the things that I really wish more people had a stronger appreciation for and would help them succeed in reaching their retirement goals is just understanding how your risk profile changes over time. There really is what I call a danger zone in your life cycle as a human and as an investor. I'm old enough that in the 1980s, when the original Top Gun movie came out, there was a song called Danger Zone. And I think many people are blindly flying into the danger zone. And I don't want that to be you. So today I'm going to share with you what this danger zone is, what the warning signs are, and how you can protect yourself. So first off, what is this danger zone? And the danger zone is when you're getting close to actually starting taking money out of your retirement accounts, right? Our whole lives for 20, 30, 40 years, we've been putting money into our retirement accounts. But the game changes, and it changes dramatically when you're getting ready to take money out. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're 25 years old and you're putting $10,000 a year into your retirement savings account. First off, well done. It's not easy to do that in your 20s. But as you're putting money in, let's say the stock market drops by 30%, and you're like, it's my retirement money. I'm not going to touch that for 40 years. And you keep putting $10,000 a year in. Then a couple of years later, the market's up and it's actually 50% higher than what it was when you started. Let's say you turn 30. By the time you're 30, the market's 50% higher than where it was when you're in your 20s. Are you happy that the market went down? Or are you sad? You know, the reality is you're happy because you were able to invest at lower prices along the way. The years where the market was down, your $10,000 bought more equity than it would have bought if the market had been up. And that's what dollar cost averaging is. But now let's reverse the course. So market down cycles help you when you're putting money into your account. But what happens when you start taking money out of your account? This is when you're starting to enter the danger zone. 3 to 5 years before you first retire and 3 to 5 years after you retire. Why? Because now you do care if the market goes down. If the market is down 30%, same amount that the 20-year-old faced, but you're taking money out, you're starting to take withdrawals. Now you have to sell more stock to get that, let's just say $50,000 a year in cash flows to support your retirement. You're on the reverse side of dollar cost averaging, right? When you're retired and selling your stocks in order to pay for your annual distributions, there's some 20-year-old that's buying those stocks that you're selling. And that 20-year-old is happy. He's benefiting from dollar cost averaging. But you're facing the evil twin of dollar cost averaging, which in my industry we call sequence of return risk. And that's just a fancy way of saying if you get bad returns early in your retirement, it can have not just an effect, but it can have a dramatic impact on what the success of your strategy. And many of you who have heard of the 4% rule, it gives some guidance. It's a rule of thumb as to how much money that you can take out of your account. Really, that 4% rule is designed to protect you from that sequence of return risk. It is the highest distribution rate, according to its inventor, that you can take out over a 30-year period. What the withdrawal rate is that you can take out over every year for 30 years and adjust it for inflation and have a 97% likelihood of never running out of money, even in that worst case scenario where you get unlucky, when you face that sequence of return risk. So that is the danger zone. Now let's talk importantly about what can you do. First, I want you to realize that there is this danger, because a lot of people are like, I've been comfortable with 70% stocks, 80% stocks, 100% stocks my whole life. I'm just going to keep doing it because I still have 20, 30 years of retirement. And you know what? That would be true. You do have a long time horizon, but do you want to subject all of that money to the volatility in the market when you know you're going to have to take some of that money out? The goal here is to avoid being, at all costs, to avoid being in a situation where you are a forced seller in a down market. And unfortunately, it's all too easy for that to happen. So how do you protect yourself from that? That's why we have asset allocation. So much of your accounts in stocks, so much of your accounts in bonds. And financial advisors will typically talk about, you're a 70-30. You're 70% in the stock market and 30% in the bond market. Or you're 60-40, 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds, or 50-50. I think it's more important, those numbers really don't resonate. What does that tell you? What I think is more important is how many years can you go without having to sell stocks if your stocks are low. So how many years can you fund your distributions without having to be a forced seller of stocks in a down market? And that's the goal. So much better than 70-30 or 50-50 is, I have 7 years worth of bonds and cash, so I never have to touch my stocks if they're down. Now that means something. And I think for most people, that's going to give them peace of mind when they need it the most, when the market's down, when they're feeling stressed, when they're feeling anxiety, knowing, you know what, I don't have to touch my stocks, even though the market's down. I can still meet my distribution. That's going to give you peace of mind. That's going to give you sleep at night factor. The other thing that's really important, you know, most of us have one life to live, so we go through different experiences and we're like, if only I had known that 10 years ago. So I'm gonna share something with you that many people, many 70-year-olds, many 60-year-olds say, I wish I knew this when I was 40 or 50. And here's what it is. Your views on risk are gonna change dramatically, likely, not for everybody, but for most people. Your views on risk are going to change dramatically once you're no longer bringing in new money, once you no longer have a salary, once you're no longer adding to your accounts. I've seen people that have weathered the storm, they've weathered the financial crisis, they've weathered the dot-com bubble, maybe they even weathered the downturn in COVID, which was the most rapid decline in US stock market history. The market was down like 20% in 3 weeks. It took people's breath away, and you weren't sure, were we going to enter a depression? And what gives you the fortitude to stick to that through that period of time is being able to say, you know what, I've got 3 years, or I've got 5 years, or I have 7 years of assets in the bank, so I never need to touch my stocks. So yes, in the past, you might have been okay with 100% stocks. You might have been okay with an asset allocation of 80% stocks. But now that you're not going to be putting money in your account, and be forewarned, how you view market downturns is going to feel very differently. And better to know that now, before the market goes down and you're tempted to become a forced seller in a down market. And then one final critical thing that I want to share with you, which is you've worked hard for your money. Yes, you want your money working hard for you in retirement, but I also want you to enjoy the journey. For many of us, retirement is the goal, but it's also important to enjoy the journey up to retirement. So I want you to think about watching this video here, where I talk about seven things that I want you to stop doing as you approach your 50s and 60s in order to enjoy the journey more. I'll see you in that video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.